Thank you all for being here. I'd like to make a few comments. Chief Brown will make a few comments, and then we'll answer questions if anybody has any. But first, I want to recognize some of the people that are here that are important in this effort. The Vice Chair of the City Council Public Safety Committee, Adam McGue. Our Council Member, Jennifer Staubach Gates, the Chair of our city's Domestic Violence Task Force. Councilman Lee Kleiman and Councilwoman Tiffany Young. Thank you for being here. This is important. Kevin Brooks with District Attorney Susan Hawk's Trial Bureau. Chief, I appreciate you being here and always partnering with us. Safer Dallas, Better Dallas has been a huge partner in our effort against crime. Charlie Terrell, thank you for being here. Paige Flink is CEO of The Family Place. And Amy Jones, the Senior Director of Client Services at Genesis Women's Shelter. All these people and organizations represent important partners in our fight against crime. Public safety is the most important issue to our citizens. When you talk to citizens, it's ranked as number one. It's the issue that I take most seriously as mayor. The reason we pulled this press conference together with Chief Brown is to try to provide some clarity to citizens regarding what our police department is doing to counter our recent spike in crime. I'm not sure I'm alone that at times we had some questions last week about exactly what we're doing, and I thought it was appropriate for us just to get together and make sure everybody's clear on what the facts were. Our communication to our citizens could have been better, but I think the intentions were good. Chief Brown and his commanders recognized an uptick in crime, and they moved quickly, and that's what you want police officers to do. But I believe that we can do better, and we will, starting today. So today, I want to talk about what we've gotten some calls from state, local, federal law enforcement agencies, and they've been talking with us, and Chief Brown is going to be talking about those issues as well. In the last 12 years, as you can see, is it right here, okay? You can see that we've had an exceptional and historic run, thanks in part to Chief Brown, to Chief Kunkel, to mayors and council people preceding our council and myself. But Chief Brown and I went to Washington last year. We met with the Attorney General and we sat with the large cities across the United States of America. And they all were bemoaning the spike in crime that was happening in their cities. And they were asking for help. They were saying, we've got to deal with this issue. Fortunately, we hadn't felt it yet. The wave was a little bit behind, but in first quarter, we started to see that the trend is not good. Of particular concern to me is the spike in crime on domestic violence and drug-related crimes. There are 60 to 70 domestic violence cases filed per week in our city. The perpetrators chase their victims to other places, thinking, well, they won't chase me if I'm over there. We need to be best equipped to deal with these issues, because these criminals not only are perpetrators in domestic violence, but in drug issues and other crimes. And so I asked Chief Brown to lay out where would the numbers look like if we took no action and our trends would just be the same as it was in the first quarter. As you see these dashed lines, that spike goes up pretty quickly. That's unacceptable to me, to our council, and to Chief Brown. Now, the great news about this is in our hands. Those dashed lines have not happened yet. Those are just predictions that could happen if we don't take action. And that's why we're here today. Also, I want to say that crime is not just one department's issue. It is not just one man's issue. It's not just one mayor's issue. It's not one council's issue. It really speaks to us as a city, including civilians and police officers. From the federal to the state to the county to neighborhood associations to owners of apartment complexes, everyone has to do their job. If we're trying to give you one message today, is everybody has a part in this. And this sense that somehow because we have boundaries, that's where crime stops and starts, is just wrong. The last time I looked at this, I pay county taxes and I pay state taxes. And I want us to work all together to make sure that spike doesn't happen. That's why I'm pleased that leaders from a number of state and local federal agencies will be working with DPD in the coming weeks and months to assist in executing outstanding domestic violence warrants and drug warrants. DPD has been meeting with them this week, and the chief will detail that in a moment. But as I said, criminals don't recognize geographic borders, and neither should cops. The assistance we're going to get from our law enforcement partners will fit into Chief Brown's overall plan, which is illustrated broadly on the graphic on the other side that he'll speak to. Being very clear about which officers are doing what and when. Now, as mayor, it's not my job to Monday morning quarterback our chief. But he has laid out his plan, and I think it is a good one. And I'm confident that he is doing what he believes is necessary to make this a reality. What it is my job is to ask the citizens of Dallas to stand up, pat our police officers on the back, shake their hands, and say thank you for what you're doing for us. These are noble men and women that work hard for our city. And they are working harder even as we speak to deal with this issue. Whether you get involved in Crime Watch neighborhood groups or DPD's Volunteer and Patrol, call 911, Crime Stoppers, or utilize the police department's iWatch app, it's now time to step it up a notch. Chief Brown has told me time and time again that the highest peaks of crime is during the summer. We're in April, all right? So we got a couple of months to prepare for it. And I want our citizens to come to play in a major way this summer. If we do, I believe those numbers will not happen and we will continue to keep crime low. Now, as we deal with this issue, I think we need to come together as a team. And I know that we will as a city because everybody I talk to loves Dallas. They're proud of where we live. And they're proud of what we've accomplished in the last decade in regards to crime. I think we as a city council have an obligation to fund the crime budget as necessary. And we will have those decisions around city council as we deal with next year's budget. But Chief, you can have my word that we will deal with those issues vigorously and with a lot of intellectual honesty to do our part. But we need our citizens to step up as well. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chief, the Chief of Dallas Police Department, David Brown.
Thank you so much, Mayor. We have a 2016 plan to continue the decline in crime in Dallas. Our plan involves nearly 600 Dallas officers, some who have adjusted their schedules to evening shift hours. Others who initially were told they had to adjust their schedules had that reduced because of the state, federal, and local help that we received. But this is a fast-changing and ever-evolving plan. So as the summer approaches, we may make other adjustments that may include other adjustments to officer hours. Our efforts include the Violent Crime Task Force, foot patrols, 2-week increments of non-patrol officers working in patrol throughout the year. The domestic violence warrant team, the drug house warrant team, and collaborations with our local, state, federal law enforcement, and the city attorney's office filing safe cases, along with our district attorney's office and our federal prosecutors who might file cases that are criminal conspiracy cases with either gang members and or drug dealers that are conspiring in groups to cause this violent crime spike. We must adapt to a changing environment with a sense of urgency. We have over 3,400 cops in Dallas. 2,400 of that 3,400 work in the field. And that group has produced the 12-year decline in crime, a total of 53% in reduced crime. Crime rates equivalent to the 40 and 50-year and 80-year lows in our city. So we now must adjust, and we must reallocate resources to continue this decline. Our crime analysis, as the mayor mentioned, our crime analysis shows that the increases are related to domestic violence increases and drug-related crime increases. Criminals have no boundaries, neither should law enforcement. In meetings with local and state officials, we all agree that our most effective collaboration initially will be domestic violence warrant responsibilities, drug house warrant responsibilities, and drug-related crime enforcement, and gang enforcement. So we'll be issuing domestic violence warrants to state officers and local constables and other local agencies that will help us. The sheriff's office has offered to serve some of these domestic violence warrants. So with that, it's just so practical to share information, to share enforcement responsibilities, to make all of us safe. A domestic violence abuser will go to a suburb to abuse someone who might initially been assaulted in Dallas. So why should we have boundaries in those enforcement efforts? We are strengthening, all of our law enforcement partners are strengthening our relationships to continue the decline in crime. And we are making progress. We began our Violent Crime Task Force March 1st. Since that point, violent crime has come down 11%. But this is an evolving operational strategy, and we will make the necessary changes as needed to be successful. Let me reiterate, we must adapt to a changing environment. Violent crime is up all across the country in every major city. We have a 2016 plan to reduce crime in Dallas and make Dallas citizens safe. And we are making progress. But we need the support of citizens. First, pray for our officers' safety. Second, thank officers for their hard work and their dedication to make you safe. If you see something, say something. Participate. Be our eyes and ears through Volunteers in Patrol, through Crime Watch, and engage us through social media as well. We all need to work together to continue the decline in crime. Now, this would be unlucky 13 when we're successful this year. We've reduced crime 12 consecutive years. This would be the 13th. Our officers are professional. They're dedicated. They're honorable. These folks are noble. They won't brag, they won't boast, but we need your support. And I'll conclude with that and take any questions to myself or the mayor.
Chief, how is the 600 people that you're talking about here now being rescheduled different than the 600 that you were talking about with the Public Safety Committee a couple of weeks ago. Is this essentially the same plan that you were discussing then? How is it different?
No, because of the offer of help from state, local, and federal officials, although we still have changed schedules for 240 officers to evening shift, that stays the same. Additional changes were not necessary at this point, but may be necessary later in the summer if needed, because we have resources from the state that will help us, as I mentioned, serve domestic violence warrants, help us execute drug house search warrants, and they are available for other efforts as needed.
So you mentioned though the figure 600 a short time ago, and so what you're saying is that that is not exactly what you're doing at this time. It's 240 at this time.
So beginning in March, 240 officers changed their schedules. That is the same. We had plans to change additional officer schedules, but because of offers from help from the state and federal resources and local resources, we did not change additional schedules. But this is an ever-evolving plan, and as needed, we may change schedules later in the summer. But because of the offer of help from state and federal and other local resources, we stayed with the 240 officers being changed and didn't have to change the additional officer schedule at this point.
Chief, you, both of you gentlemen stated about the need to have community and public support.
Yes.
Speak to me about having public sentiment from these police associations that have voiced just the opposite regarding their leadership and the current state of crime in this city.
Our focus is reducing crime. Our focus is making Dallas citizens safe. Steve, I don't know how much more important saving a citizen's life when we talk about violent crime is for us to focus on. And I sense that officers will rise to the occasion. And early on, as I mentioned, we are making progress. Since March, violent crime has come down 11%. Our officers are professional, they're dedicated, and I get a sense that they have the sense of urgency that I have invoked upon the department to start early. This is earlier than we would normally have started this type of deployment of resources, usually in the summer. But we started in the spring, and we want to take care of this now and not wait, not be distracted by other issues that don't save citizens' lives.
I just want to add one thought that, first of all, I think our police associations care about their members and try to speak truth to power when they believe that is important. And that's an important part of the dialogue. Steve, your question, though, I think was exactly right. What do citizens think? And how do are they going to step up to the plate? And I think our citizens understand the progress we've made. They give us high marks for this, and they trust the leadership of the city to do the right things. So as I go out throughout the community, people are saying, let us continue this effort, and we're behind you every step of the way. More and more people are saying, I want to join a crime watch group. I want to do the things that help our police. So I feel great about that. There was a hand over here. Yes, ma'am.
So right now, we shouldn't expect to see county or state patrolling, just, is that correct?
We all agreed when we met that the most effective use of other resources from the state, other local agencies in North Texas, is to help us with executing or serving the domestic violence warrants more expeditiously, as well as assistance with serving our drug house warrants. And reason why that is important, those are the two areas of violent crime that is driving overall violent crime. Those are where the spikes are, and so that's where the assistance will be. So we'll be sharing that workload with all of our law enforcement partners. In addition to just the enforcement aspect, we are also sharing our information with our city attorneys, our DA, and our federal prosecutors so that we can have enhanced prosecutions to the fullest extent of these folks that's causing this violent crime. So there's multiple collaborations happening, primarily because criminals don't have boundaries, and neither should law enforcement.
Let me, from a layman's point of view, explain. Look, before, officers were patrolling and serving warrants.
Yes.
So they weren't able to do as good a job of patrolling because they had those warrants, or they weren't doing as good a job of the warrants. Those criminals would do bad stuff. Now, by strategically focusing on these warrants, it allows us to patrol better, I think. I mean, if I understand
Yes.
the strategy.
That's exactly right.
Anything else? Yes, sir. Yes, Betty. Good to see you.
Will the council and the manager engage in bringing more full-time positions to the police department so the chief would have adequate resources to work with?
The chief has been very clear that he wants 50 new officers, okay? We talked about that at our strategic offsite in January or February, whatever. And I thought I heard us as a council leaning forward into that issue. We didn't take any votes, but I think there's people that have an appetite to spend that money because they understand what we're asking our police department to do more with less and what it means to these officers. The big thing for me, and I think we're in agreement, is we've got too big of a turnover in our young officers, okay? We train our officers and they stay for a couple of years and they go someplace else. That's not the way you run a railroad, so we're gonna have to deal with that issue as well. Yes?
None of this, the staffing shortage or say the gang problem or the drug problem, none of this happened overnight. So what is the responsibility of people to inherit in the crime increase going on?
I'll start with me. It's on my watch, and so while I can give a lot of credit for folks in the past that have helped drive crime down, this is on my watch, and that's why I'm very excited that we have a plan to deal with this. I understand we're in a national trend, and as you said, criminals don't stop in Dallas or not. They go all over the place. But it would be a terrible malfeasance as a mayor to sit back and let's just keep on doing what we've been doing with crime going up, and that's why we're taking this action.
And yes, I've been a part of the 12-year decline, either as the second in command of the department when it began in 2004 till today. The 12th was about to be the 13th consecutive year. And we've had our ebbs and flows of crime spikes. The important thing is you put a plan together when your analysis shows the spike is occurring, and you immediately get resources on top of where that's occurring in the area. Much of the hotspot policing philosophy. But we also have foot patrols in all parts of Dallas, not just in high crime areas. Because I hear throughout my conversations, not just with council members, but with citizens, is that they want officers more visible in neighborhoods, out of the squad car, walking. And so, again, just to answer your question specifically, this is the first quarter that we saw this spike near mid-February. We immediately began deploying resources to address it. And I'm confident that our officers will again rise to the challenge and continue to make Dallas safer.
Chief, I have a question, Chief. There is a timeline for this partnership with the local and state authorities to start to serve these warrants?
There is not, and that was the most encouraging part of our collaborative conversation, is that we all agree this ought to be an ongoing relationship in the area of domestic violence because it's pervasive throughout socio-economic demographics. No matter what jurisdiction you're in, domestic violence is the scourge of our society, and we all, as in law enforcement, feel a great responsibility when someone is charged to immediately get them off the street through serving a warrant and put them through the criminal justice system.
When's it start?
It starts immediately. We've already started. The state will start immediately. The drug house collaboration will start immediately. We've already started. Times are wasted. Yesterday is when we needed to get this done. And so we are right now in a hurry with a sense of urgency in all of these efforts.
Any idea how many officers are going to be participating in this effort?
As many as it takes from the state and local. For Dallas officers, we're at 583 is the total number of Dallas officers. The state and federal resources will be teams of officers that will be given warrants to serve, to supplement the Dallas officers' responsibilities so that we can do more with all the resources that we have available to us.
So it is around 600 then? You were
Yes.
saying a minute ago 240. and-
They changed their schedules, Ken. The rest stayed on their regular schedules, but are still part of this effort.
I see, so it is around 600, many
Yes,
are
sir.
on the regular schedule, 240 have changed.
Gotcha.
And with regard to the outside folks, are these people who were stationed here, are they coming in here?
Both. Some stationed here, some coming in. Yes.
And Leslie, if I may, the sheriff has voiced some concerns about who's going to be in charge of this. If we start using deputies, say, that are going to be doing these things on behalf of the city, are they working for you? Are you in charge? Or are these individual agencies in charge of their own?
So what we've done is set egos aside to get the job done. Sheriff Lupe Valdez is in charge of the sheriff's department, but we're all going to work together to get this job done, to protect the citizens of Dallas. We're sworn to protect and serve.
So she can still work for her when they're doing these things, and yours work for you, but you just try to work together. It's not like you're taking charge of these people.
That's right, working together.
All right, Charlie, last question.
I don't think you need 50 more officers, I think you need 200. The council, with respect to those individuals, has done a horrible job in keeping up pay resources. When we got the crime rate down years ago, we got a number of officers, 300,000. Years ago, we need more officers in pay.
All right.
Now, that might not be comfortable here from there, since you're dealing with the budget. But, public safety is number one priority. We need to get the officers and good training, keep more pay and more officers.
That's why you're here, and we appreciate your leadership. Thank you, guys.